Hey everybody, let me turn the hey everybody. This is Carl back again for another TV show spoiler review, and I want to cover uh, the season one of My Adventures with Superman. It just recently wrapped up, and I was still going through the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexo. I need to take the time out to speak on, at least for a little bit, uh, on the show that came out on Adult Swim, but the day later it shows up on HBO Max, or just called Max. Don't get me started on how stupid the name changes is. But yeah, I mean, the show got Jack Quaid as Superman himself, and from after the first few episodes, I heard other people's thoughts on this film, and one note that I agree with is the fact that it's a nice change of pace, because it's like a new beginning of like a retelling of the Superman story. And it's just his early days working at the Daily Planet, moving to Metropolis, and all the other stuff. Not Probably not too dissimilar to what James Gunn probably have in mind, but they made a point that we've been inundated with a lot of not hopeful Superman for such a long time, or at worst, these Homelander, Omni-Man type of figures, Brightburn type of figures, is at this point is beating a dead horse. Like, it was like a interesting novelty with Injustice game where you got like Superman, he lost his mind kind of situation over some tragedy, or just making some, oh, what if Superman but bad, and it's gotten really old, and people, I think a lot of people are in agreement, they kind of got sick of it, because just for the past several years, people have like none, people act like, oh, it's it gets you hard, making like like an edgy Superman, and like there's no hope in the world, screw you if you think so, and like laser beam everybody, and do what you want attitude. And it's just like just cynical assholes, or people in Hollywood is like like, I got a pitch, it's like, how about like somebody who walks in like in a studio office with a pitch on, I got an evil Superman idea, they should be laughed out of the room immediately, because it's done to death. Just like with like Joker, like every time you do like a Batman thing, you gotta drag this this old thing, it's like it's been done to death, enough. And so it's a nice breath of fresh air to have a bright, hopeful Superman again, and it's not cheesy. Is uh, it's a it's like genuine. Uh, and it's cool idea. You got like because it's pretty much like a Superman anime, or people like to make a coin the name Supermanime, where it's got the anime feel. But here's one of my criticisms: it's just like, it's like you're trying to be an anime, but you're trying not to at the same time. Because there's moments where you kind of, like when like in the first episode, there's some kind of transformation that's very reminiscent to Sailor Moon. They don't do it like since they didn't do it since then, but it's just like Avatar did it the best. Clearly anime inspired, but they made it their own thing. And this personally feels like they're it's like they're trying to be anime, but they're trying not to at the same time. And just they're trying to grab at straws, trying like somebody will like us, kind of like, please like us, because like we're hip, we watch anime too. And it's like I get that feel, and it's like just do your thing. You're what's that line from Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park? Ian Malcolm. It's like, uh, uh, you stood on the shoulders of great people, and you patent it, you package it, and now you're selling it. You're selling it, selling it. It's kind of like that, and it's like, okay, and then it feels way too bouncy, and not that it's bad. It's not a bad show by any means. It's just like, I don't know. It started off like some kind of cutesy anime, but then halfway through, then it starts getting like real tense and serious. Like, oh, I can see why you're on Adult Swim, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like you're not doing like a right balance of it. Honestly, I'm not sure why. Even still, it's like, it's not like it does have some like people getting cut in his blood, but it's not like it's a gore fest, or it's not like Harley Quinn where they can go all out. But it's just, I don't know. And that's another thing about, like, you're trying to put one foot in one pond and the other foot in the other pond, and it's just like, pick a side already. Do you want to be for everybody, or do you want to be for teens and older people? And like I said, this is like kind of bouncy. People are loving this version of Jimmy Olsen. I'm not feeling Jimmy Olsen. The conspiracy theorist Jimmy Olsen, and I don't know. It's very Gen Z Jimmy Olsen, in my opinion. And speaking for a person of color, and it's just my opinion, okay, I think you're overdoing it with trying to, representation, in my opinion. I say that to say, and it's just my opinion. I don't expect anybody to agree. I don't have no conscientious hope for anybody to agree with me. I'm putting it out there because this is my personal feelings. Yeah, not that you can't have racial change in characters. It's like, yeah, like we had a black Jimmy Olsen, we had like a black Perry White before, but then you also got Asian Lois Lane, I guess. I'm not sure. She's tan. She got like a tan appearance. I'm not sure. It's like, what are you going for with Lois? Because, like, looking at her father, clearly he's Asian descent because you clearly see it in the face. But it's just like, okay, it's like, not really a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but clearly you're trying to, in my opinion, for lack of better words here, overdo it with representation. Now, it's not as egregious as something like CW has done in the past, but it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just my adult brain or what I've been inundated with other stuff. Like, I'm not like avid news watcher or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, I watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and I can see like a certain pattern here, because a lot of this stuff comes from Hollywood, and it's like, not that I'm like conservative, but it's just like, I got liberal, natures, but it's just, I can think with some, think for myself and say like, hey, you're trying to like appease so many different demographics, and just be yourself. I mean, like, I hate to, it's not like, competing one against the other, but I'm just like, Avatar: The Last Airbender did a great job with, representation, but, it just, I don't know. You can just tell from like, the writing, and like, it's just like, okay, it's like you're trying to appease everybody. And it's kind of like the same thing with like that Velma TV show. Like, who are you trying to, like, it's not as egregious as Velma, but it's just like, you know, uh I don't know, you're trying to like, like, hey, like, we're hip to everybody, we're not going to offend nobody, everybody's here, so yay, kind of thing. Unless, like I said, it's just my opinion, I don't expect anybody to agree with it. It's just something I just happen to notice as I'm watching through each of the episodes. And I think it's gotta go a little too far with the anime stuff, with like these certain tropes where you see from anime, where it's like you're trying too hard with that too. And it's like, sure, some people, like, there's a lot of people who watch anime, but I don't know, you're trying to, like, get everybody to like you. And that's probably like my biggest gripe. And it's like you're trying to too hard to get everybody like you. Just do your thing, and your audience will, whoever's gravitating to it, will be there. Not everybody gravitated towards Avatar: The Last Airbender right away. They build the fan base built over time. Now everybody gravitated towards like Pokemon right away, but the fan base eventually built on, because you're doing your own thing, and the fan base will, you trust the fan base will be there, and whoever gravitates to this, great. Those who do not, that's fine too, but don't try to appease everybody. That's how I feel. It feels like it's trying to appease everybody. And I feel towards the end they found a bit of their footing. It's first seasons, they're always trying to find their footing, but you just tell they're trying hard to get everybody to like them. But those, so far, I just want to get those, points out the way. But we're like, I thought it was also a good idea, though. There's a good points to the show where it's like Superman doesn't have his complete power set right away. It's kind of like with Smallville, where they're slowly growing each time. It's like, it's like a new power-up kind of situation, like a video game. I thought that was a great idea. Him learning that he's from like a alien race, but you see like this version of Jor-El clearly inspired by Man of Steel, to be honest, because he kind of got that bearded Jor-El look, which only bearded Jor-El was from Russell Crowe in Man of Steel. And he cannot fluently understand, because he's speaking Kryptonian, he does not speak it, which some people thought it was a nice touch, but I don't know. Well, it's like, I get it, but because like, it's like somebody who come from Mexican parents but raised by somebody else in America and grew up not knowing Mexican language. So when somebody else speaking like Mexican to them, it's foreign to their ears until they eventually learn it. So like, I get it. Not every interpretation of Superman needs to like automatically know Kryptonian, but it's just, I don't know, when he learns from like the Forces of Solitude and about his heritage, it automatically translates to English so he can understand and eventually pick up on Kryptonian. So he eventually fights certain bad guys using a lot of a certain amount of tech. They're not metahumans. They didn't really start using those until in the later half of the show, where, well, it's still kind of tech based, honestly, because the first super villain Clark is dealing with is Livewire, and I like Livewire as a character, because the first introduction to Livewire was the 90s animated Superman show back in the day, where she's just like this big, in this blue electric chick who used to be a shock jock. They always spew lies about Superman because, you know, just to get ratings. And here she's just one of those, which is like another gripe I had when I first started watching this. It's like, oh my god, this whole paramilitary shtick with these bad guys, you know, like classic, you know, bad guy super villains that you know from the comics, and somebody's doing like an interpretation of them, and they always gotta be some kind of, because, you know, certain characters in the CWDC shows have done this from time to time, like I think Plastique in Smallville, usually a paramilitary person, and it's like, oh my god, it's like they don't need to have some kind of military training to make them you know, like badasses. Like, you know, that is a trouble I'm starting to get a little fed up with, honestly. And it's like, if you're, you know, doing like live, especially in this day and age with all this, like, you know, fake news and all this other stuff, you could have like not only a rival to Lois and Clark at, you know, because they're working for the Daily Planet, she could be working as like a vlogger, or, you know, one of those like you know, those, you know, YouTubers or something like that, where they're spewing all these, you know, nasty rhetoric about Superman, and you get like, you know, trolls gravitating towards her. You could have done something like that, at least the new age shock jock of the day, some BuzzFeed type of crap with, you know, Livewire, and has some electric, you know, because like in an animated show, you know, it was during a rainstorm when she's doing like a live performing for a live audience, and, you know, Superman comes by, he sees like there's dangerous wiring, and as he's trying to carry her away from getting electrocuted, the shock, you know, channels through him into her, and that's how, you know, meta-human electricity spewed. You could have done something akin to that, but not exactly. But, you know, here it's just regular tech, and that's how she got her powers. You get the same thing with, you get like Banshee and two other people I don't recognize, and then of course you get this Sasuke Uchiha looking Slade Wilson, this edgelord looking kid, and it's like, oh, that's like I've been saying, it's like you're leaning really hard into anime just to try to get, desperately try to get people to like you. So you're going through all these different bad guys learning through his powers. Eventually, which halfway through, Lois and Jimmy, well, Jimmy already been knew that Clark was Superman, but Lois finds out he and her get involved, and it's kind of like, I'm glad they kind of like cut to the chase with that, because it don't drag out for a season and a half. But then there's like an episode where you get this kind of like the Council of Reeds and Council of Rex, Council of Lois Lanes, and one lady version of Jimmy Olsen, all coming to stop Mr. Mxyzptlk, another super anime heavy inspired character who tricks Superman into breaking into a facility in order to get his, you know, like a classic Mr. Mxyzptlk bowler hat, and it turns into immediately into a crown once he gets his hands on it. I thought that was a nice touch. And he's just like a kind of chaotic creature. But once they stop him, Lois finds this little device where it holds like information about different variants of Superman, and each, you know, there's multiple, even though it's like it's showing multiple evil versions of him, and she gets worried about, like, you know, the dangers, like, you know, what could Clark turn into this. Is like, but you don't know the backstory of each one of these Superman and their origin story that could lead them into like going down like a wrong path. That, because we learn from different type of multiversal stories where each Earth has like a different people live different lives, and just one small change can alter the course of their lives. Like Superman falling Gotham and being raised by Bruce's parents, Thomas and Martha, instead of John and Martha. And he grew up to be Batman, a superpowered Batman. So like, just things like that can happen, and I don't know why she doesn't try to take that into account. You get a little introduction to, like, the Brain and Mr. Mala, and you turn them into a gay couple. Don't know why. And it's like, why that, and why on the fact that, like, well, the Brain used to be human, but it's like, why you fall in love with an ape, albeit like an intelligent, hyper intelligent ape, but still ape. But that was like a fun episode, irregardless. And the fact that Clark is finally like coming clean and explain to them, it's like, I didn't tell you guys. I don't know why I just went that voice. I didn't tell you guys about me because I don't want you guys looking at me different and treating me different. I just want to like live. I want like a normal life aside from Superman, and it's like, they understand, but they didn't bother to keep take that in consideration of why he chose not to tell them. Not everybody's going to tell everybody everything about them upon their meeting. It's just like, you'll learn gradually when that person is ready to tell you. It's like, I have several friends. I don't tell them every nook and cranny about my life and what I'm thinking or whatever. It all depends on what I'm feeling comfortable with telling them. There's probably like at least 3 people in my entire life that I was ever like at least 99% honest about all aspects of me. 2 of them have passed away, one's still alive, but that's just like, how, at least personally, how I'm comfortable with telling somebody like the darkest recesses of my freaking mind, the dirtiest things I ever imagine or thought, or like personal stuff that happened to me in my past. We have to get to a point where I'm extremely comfortable with you, extremely trusting of you, to be able to divulge something that personal. And like, no friend in history get up in arms because somebody didn't bother to tell them about certain things, aspects about themselves that they wasn't ready to divulge. So I thought that was kind of crazy, just to hype up the drama. Personally, it's not as egregious as it's like, a liar reveal thing like you see in like those Hallmark Christmas films, but it was annoying to me. But then you get like General Lane, who turns out to be the general, who is kind of sounding like the commercial, the general. Save some money, save some time. That commercial. Every time they just give him a title, the general. It's like, God, just call him Sam Lane. And of course, this is like I'm not clearly not the demographic, or the audience that they're trying to cater to. I appreciate it. It's like, I don't know. I just like the show. Like, it was cool to watch. Don't know if I'll go check out the second season. Like, I just want to make sure, like, hey, like, I check it out and see where my head's at, with it. And even though I think it's like cool enough, not my bag. It's kind of like that Steven Universe show. Everybody in their mama loves Steven Universe. I never got into it. As I see it in multiverses, like everybody playing like this weird drawing looking kid. who has like 3 stone gem named characters, female characters, and 2 of which are in a lesbian relationship with. That's all I remember from, like, from what I'm gathering from Steven Universe. Never got into it, but with this, because they're in Superman and a nice, change of pace with a hopeful Superman again. Regardless of that, I just it's just like it's okay. It was an okay film. It's probably like meant for people in their 20s might get into it. People my age might get into it, but it's just I'm just personally not feeling it. I have like my fair share of good Superman shows that I grew up with that I can easily return back to anytime I want. This is probably not it for me. I like they did with like Parasite, even though his name is Amazo, even though that's our Amazo is a scientist that make the Amazo robot that copies people's powers. And Rudy Jones is the Parasite, and that's how it is in the comics. They're 2 different people. And Rudy Jones isn't a scientist. He's not that smart. He's, no better than your common thug that got doused with some chemicals that gave him like ability to absorb energy or powers, which is like what Parasite is doing in the show. But they call him the Amazo, call the scientist guy Amazo. And it's like those are 2 different people, and you trying to combine 2 different villains together. I personally don't like it, but I love the way the Parasite looked and acted through the show, regardless. And then of course there's like a Thanksgiving episode where chickens comes home to roost, and like Sam Lane realize that Clark is Superman. Then you learn that Sam Lane and Amanda Waller, who both look shredded in their younger years, but now like put on the pounds for some reason, while they're preparing for an assumed invasion, especially after Superman showed up. And of course Amanda Waller is always gung-ho about it's like, I don't know, there's a certain way you play Amanda Waller. Sure, she's more often than not play like a villain, but kind of akin to her, to maybe like an anti-hero towards villain sometimes. But they really went hard because like it's certain nuances with Amanda Waller, whereas like, yeah, I'm using villains to stop a potential threat, and they don't do like the bomb in the brain with these villains that they've been building up throughout the entire season. They use just these shock collars, which is that's lame. And you're doing this on Adult Swim, so of course you should be able to get away with putting in the writing that, hey, these the guys have bombs in their brains, and of course I guess you can't show one of them getting their heads exploded, but it's just, I thought that was kind of weird. But they really lean into like the evilness of Amanda Waller instead of just giving us a bit of nuance, where like a Viola Davis in the Suicide Squad films, where it's like that was like an appropriately balanced way of handling Amanda Waller without just going full on board towards like F everybody, just do whatever kind of situation. Where Sam Lane is gung-ho about stopping Superman, and Superman, of course, not realizing, oh, my people came here and tried to take over. You learn later was General Zod in disguise, because he, is he like an epilogue where it's like, taking over another planet, and he's just using, I will make them kneel. So of course, people who know the lore of Superman will know who that is. But and I don't know, they kind of really like the whole Sam Lane mystery thing, even though the audience know, or starting, I guess people who not in the know of Superman will like, oh my God, it's such a huge shock, Lois Lane's dad doing all this, and everybody else is like already hip to that kind of thing. I guess it's fun for them to be shocked by it, but it's just like, Don't know, because she keep mentioning like, oh, it's just my dad, and it's like, okay, yeah, my dad's name is General Lane, and kind of have Clark piece it together a lot sooner than that, instead of being like, oh my god, I'm so shocked. This general is Lois Lane's dad, and of course he should be, being a general, should be wearing some kind of tag with the name Lane on it. When you first first meet this general, it's just like, they kind of really trying to drag that out for people. Don't feel the need that was necessary to drag it out for at least that long. It should have been at least halfway through. They should, kind of, Clark piece it together. But yeah, so the next season will probably lean into like the Zod being the next big bad for the season 2. But yeah, those are my thoughts on My Adventures of Superman. Like I said, it's a decent show, and like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's definitely not bad at all. It's just not my speed personally, but you might personally get a kick out of it. So but I thought thought I'd do it a courtesy of making sure like I watch it and see how it is, because they hyped it up pretty hard. And like, I like Superman. It's my second favorite superhero of all time. But yeah, this is not a show for me. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit as I get Mortal Kombat 1 Premium Edition booted up for you guys. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of My Adventures of Superman. Are you gonna keep going with it? Do you like it? Is it your speed? Are you like me, where it's like you're just not feeling it? Let me know, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.